London is one of the world's most desirable cities to live in, but it's also one of the most expensive. As of mid-2025, average rental prices have seen a year-on-year increase of around 6 to 9%, especially in prime central London. At the same time, property prices have remained relatively stable to flat, with some localized dips and gains depending on the area. So, is it better to rent or buy? Let's break it down. This table shows the key stats comparing renting versus buying. Average rents in London were $2,249 per month, while prime central London, or PCL, is around $2,698, according to Zoopla and the Office for National Statistics. Year-on-year growth shows an average of 7.7% for Greater London versus 9.9% in prime central London. Compare this to the average property price in Greater London of $566,614, a 3.3% year-on-year increase. Compare this with an average price of £701,990 for prime central London, with a modest increase of 0.7% year-on-year, according to Benham & Reeves and the Times. Now, on renting, let's talk about the pros. Obviously, the biggest thing you'll have is flexibility, ideal if you're unsure about how long you'll stay or whether you even want to stay. Speed, you can actually move in within a couple weeks. There's obviously lower upfront costs. There's typically just a deposit, typically 5 to 6 weeks rent, and maybe 6 to 12 months rent in advance, especially for international students if you're unable to pass tenant referencing. Renting also offers no maintenance costs. When things break down, it's the landlord's responsibility, not yours, to make the repairs. Also, many properties can be offered as furnished, so you really have very little upfront cost to moving in and even having to pick furniture or worrying about things like that. For legal implications, most rents are a short hold tenancies called ASTs, which are generally 12 months. Here in the UK, you can negotiate a 6-month break clause for further flexibility. Under an AST, you'll have legal rights as a tenant, such as minimum notice periods, protection from unfair eviction, and deposit protection through a government-approved scheme. International renters may need proof of income, right to rent checks, and in some cases, a UK-based guarantor or extra deposit. The cons of renting. Number one, there's no equity building. You're paying off someone else's mortgage, and you could live for years paying rent and ultimately have nothing to show for it. You're subject to market increases and dynamics. Your rent could go up repeatedly upon renewal, and you'll have less foot control with limited ability to renovate your space or personalize it. You also may have the precarious nature of being subject to a landlord's desires if they need to take their flat back or property back, such that you're driven to move, even if it was not your ideal situation or timing. Now let's talk about buying. On the pro side, you're building equity, long-term investment potential as well. You've got stability, you're not subject to landlord decisions or rising rents. You have the freedom to modify or renovate, extend, or furnish to your taste. Obviously, if you're in a building with other units, you'll definitely still be subject to lease, which may have some restrictions on what you can and cannot do, especially if they're older properties or grade 2 listed, which will have its own restrictions. From the legal and tax considerations, you'll have to consider stamp duty, land tax, which applies and can be significant, especially for non-residents who face a 2% surcharge on top of the standard rates. Stamp duty currently ranges from 2 to 12% depending on price, with multiple other surcharges depending on nationality and status. Also, you need to consider freehold versus leasehold. In London, many properties are leasehold, especially flats. This means you own the property but not the land, and you'll need to consider your lease terms. There'll typically be ownership and maintenance costs and ground rent and service charges. Buying in the UK involves a conveyancing, which is a legal transfer of property title, which can take typically 6 to 12 weeks or even more. We've had deals take many months to complete due to things that are often outside of our control. You've got the mortgage lending rules. Banks assess affordability. International buyers may need to come up with larger deposits, often 25 to 40%, as well as proof of funds. Some of the cons of buying: there'll be higher upfront costs, deposit, stamp duty, legal fees, and surveys. Mortgage rates may vary over the life of the loan, so you'll have variability in terms of actually month to month what you're paying. You'll have less flexibility. Selling can take months and come with its transaction costs. And then there's the ongoing costs of maintenance, insurance, property taxes, and more. So when might renting be a better fit? You might want to consider renting first if you're new to London and want to explore its different neighborhoods. You might want also the flexibility for future moves. You also may want to test the waters before committing financially. This is often a smart move for international arrivals. Renting gives you the time to understand the market, different areas, before making the major commitment to buy. Now, when buying can make sense over renting, buying could be the right choice if you're planning to stay long term. If you're looking for potential to own an appreciating asset with investment potential, or if you want a second home that is yours as a pied-à-terre. If you're concerned about rising rents and want more control, buying will definitely be the better option. The London property market has been seen for a long time as a safe haven asset, especially in areas of prime central London like Knightsbridge, Mayfair, and Kensington. So should you rent or buy in London? It really depends on your personal goals, timelines, and financial position. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but having the right advice makes all the difference. If you're looking for bespoke guidance, I work with clients from around the world to help them navigate both the rental and purchase markets here in London. Feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to have a no-obligation conversation. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss future videos on the London property market. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.